Hello everyone, I'm a Yanxing main who is Trailblaze level 44, and I want to give you my general advice for any individual who's either crossing over that Trailblaze level 30 line onto 40, or maybe you're nearing 40 and you want to know how to properly prepare. I myself have made a bunch of mistakes that I kind of want to help people avoid. With that being said, I don't want you to think or to listen to any of this and think that if you've made these to some degree, you've negatively impacted your account to a large degree. These are things that can be mitigated with time, but it's obviously better to know and not make them in the first place. First and foremost, my two main damage healers are Yanxing and Zile. And I want to clarify for a lot of you individuals out there, focus on one team is an obvious thing, but I don't think that's clarified enough for any individual who has a bunch of characters they want to build. Yes, focus on your Fire MC. Yes, focus on your healers, whether it's Natasha or Bailu, but also understand what they're going to need in terms of traces. Traces are so incredibly important that if you dip into the mid to late game and you don't have the materials to properly get them up, it can dramatically affect your progress. This isn't because traces change everything, but it's because the materials required also needs you to essentially utilize the same stamina you'd want to use for relics. So understand who is going to need what and what traces you particularly want to pick up. For Natasha, you want to remove the debuff because the cleanse is incredibly important against certain bosses, especially into late game. And for your main damage dealers, understand what they're getting in terms of value from each of these. The effect resistance shred is good for freeze, but the additional ice damage overall is even better. And the reason this is important is because you need these tracks of destiny for a lot of characters, and these are very limited. So as a result, you kind of want to build and pre-plan ahead because you don't want to be AR 40 or Trailblaze level 40 and having to spend your stamina for the small ascension mats you need here alongside the main ascension mats you need for characters. Because yes, once you get to AR 40, the ascension mats, and I'm saying AR because it's easier and, you know, Genshin brain, but once you get to Trailblaze level 40, these ascension mats drop 3 at a time for your 40 stamina, and that's good. But if you've already farmed the stuff for the trace mats, if you've already farmed the XP and the credits you need, this is fine to focus on. You just don't want to be in a situation where you're dipping into mid game and you don't have enough characters built up to actually get through the content. Yes, your healers are important, and yes, your shielders are important, but I would say that if you are unable or unwilling to realistically build any of your damage healers already because you don't like them, maybe you have Yanxing, you hate, maybe you have Vazila, you hate her. I'd say focus on your preservation or abundance characters. Focus on the units who are going to keep you alive long term first. March 7th is a unit I ignored for a long time until I found out she was great with Yanxing, so I built her up. I want to get into the short topic of relics because a lot of individuals are waiting to get to 40 to farm relics, but I don't think, and take this with a grain of salt, I don't think it is worthwhile for a lot of individuals unless you have everything else you want already set. Yes, relics that are 5 stars offer great stats. That is true. The problem you run into though is that these don't have good substats. And yes, that's a personal thing, I understand. And a lot of individuals actually will focus on this. The ability to synthesize gear is to a degree nice. The problem ensues that you have to sacrifice 10 5-star relics to get 100 salvage, which is enough to select any gear piece you want. That's fine, except each of those 5-star relics cost 40 resin to get because you only get 1 drop. And these don't have guaranteed substats or guaranteed main stats. If you want to guarantee those, you need 1 self-modeling resin. The only way to get this is from the battle pass, and you only get 1. Even if you buy the paid version, you only get 1. And something I see a lot of individuals at least not considering is, even if you're like me and you utilize that self-modeling resin to get a good main set, the subsets can be god awful. And so if you're lower Trailblaze level and you have some amazing 4-star pieces, not that one, ignore that one. Maybe you have some really good 4-star pieces that you want to use. It's fine in my eyes to level them up because of the subsets alone until you get something comparable, because it's going to take me forever to realistically replace this with something that's worth the same amount of value. Because yes, that attack percentage might be really good, but if I don't have crit damage or crit rate and I'm running around with a piece that's like this, then I'm not seeing much value out of that. Yes, your gloves and your helmets are really good, but please don't get into the mindset where the 5-star artifact is your main goal and you can't level up 4 stars, because 4 stars can be legitimately good, especially for your healers. As minor of a thing as this may be, I want to legitimately warn everybody beforehand that if you are considering picking up an item from her to shop, please do not buy anything until you've reached that standard banner pity, because all these light cones are good, but I got this one, which is Clara's for destruction characters from the standard banner pity, and this means that I can avoid pretty much entirely Herta's destruction-based light cone, because for me, it's not worth it. And I don't want you to get into a situation where you bought maybe the Hunt version, but then you got Sleep Like the Dead. And unless you have multiple Hunt characters, you're not using that. Traces are important, not necessarily just because they build up your damage, but instead because if you dip into late game, you really start to farm out artifacts and farm out relics and get specific light cones, you want to know what your character actively gets. For my Yanqing, he gets crit rate and crit damage, and he gets more crit rate and crit damage. And so these traces increase his damage here and there, alongside this increased speed, but you want to consider what they're going to gain the most value from. If I go to something like Danheng, somebody who I don't use at all, these tracks of destiny are so rare to get that you do want to start prioritizing what your upgrade path is. Ignoring these is perfectly fine if you want to get and unlock the major traces for them. We won't be able to get these for a long time, so ignore the top level. But these bonus abilities can be really good for your characters. Natasha, for instance, unlocks the cleansing capabilities to remove debuffs, and that is really nice. March 7th has the exact same thing. And so you want to pre-plan that out, because dipping into late game, your defensive and survivability and you want to plan that out, because dipping into late game, survivability is much more important than just raw damage. You can have raw damage that matters, but if your team can't survive long enough to get to the next stage or the next enemy or the next boss, it doesn't matter. And if you are low on stamina, Simulated Universe allows you to go through. For me, I can auto World 6. Simulated Universe allows you to go through and you can pick up these extra drops from every elite enemy, boss, or anything. And so if you find a Simulated Universe that you can realistically do on your own without the need for constantly, picking up buffs all the time, I'd honestly recommend picking one that you like and then farming through it, because these are necessary. All of these items here are really useful to have. And so if you're a player who just wants to spend more time, I'd say pick these up, go through these words and auto farm them, and go to your index and just grab every blessing and curio you don't yet have. I still have a decent bit, specifically 11 more that I actually need to pick up. I mean, 21 more. Am I capable of counting correctly? I think it's a legitimately good idea to go through Simulated Universe and find what you're missing out on and just grab those whilst collecting the extra resources. Because, yeah, if you don't have the time, you don't have the time, it doesn't matter. If you do have the time and you do legitimately just want to slightly gain a bit more value long term, it's better off, and you're better off as a whole, doing that. Another slight tidbit of advice is to not rush through or build out 8 characters too quickly. I understand that at a certain point, the game really wants you to have 2 separate teams. Like Forgotten Hall really wants you to have 2 separate teams, and you can get by with a decent team here, 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 and here. And then you can kind of filter out with whatever you have available for the second half, sure. But the later stages, you really are in a time crunch and you're really just trying to survive. Memory of Chaos does give a decent chunk of rewards. I'm not gonna lie, 600 gems is actually quite nice. You instead run into the issue where you, and for a lot of us really, won't have enough damage to get to that last stage. So I'd much rather individuals prioritize building up the characters they know they're going to use or like. I legitimately want to build up this character because I find her cute. So as a result, I don't think it's worthwhile to build out somebody like Asta right now just for Simulated Universe and Forgotten Hall. Because long term, you will be able to clear that. And if you're having trouble with Simulated Universe, just pick Abundance or pick Hunts and prioritize on what you're lacking. If you are lacking damage, Hunt works best, so therefore your team should prioritize surviving. If you cannot survive, or maybe you have the damage, pick Abundance, pick Preservation, because those will help you get through certain bosses. And if you're having trouble with specific enemies, I'd honestly recommend going with unconventional things. A lot of individuals specifically talk about Fire Trailblazer, and yes, they are great, but for a lot of boss enemies, you don't really need Fire MC. I think the taunt is great, I think the shield is great, but if you are wanting to stop enemies from doing very annoying tactics, like for Jeopard, it's summoning all of the mobs that you don't want to deal with, use Physical MC. Physical MC is honestly great for that. If you're looking at Svarog, somebody like either an Asta for the fire or Serval for the electricity may be really good to build. And you don't really need to have these characters built up to level 50s or level 60s. You can get them to 40, you can get them to 20 and just have a shielder nearby to keep them alive. Next up, this is just general advice, not particularly pertaining to one character. I'd honestly recommend all of you find one character you really enjoy. Whether it's Hook, whether it is Serval or Herta, pick one character you enjoy and legitimately just build them out. Because yes, I understand it's very easy to get caught in the mindset of, oh, wait a minute, I can actually, no. It's very easy to get caught into the mindset where you want to build up the strongest characters, and that is good. But if you don't really care about the meta, if you don't really care about how strong your team is and you just want to have fun, please consider building out other units, because you may never know. You may pick up traces for these characters that you like and actually enjoy their playstyle, or maybe enjoy the personality. And if that's the case, I think it's much better to be able to have a character you like playing and have them built up to show off than have the strongest character at the time, but you hate them. I do not like Zila's outfit. What is this? Please explain what's going on in the back. I don't get it. Why is she's from underground. Hook resembles that way more than, what is this rainbow outfit? I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was raining every day and we just had triple rainbows across. I don't like it. No, look, but I do like Yanqing. I do like his playstyle. And he was the first unit I built up. I specifically got this light cone and then our forward or super transition forward this light cone for him, because he is at the moment my favorite character. I mean, you can tell that by the trace levels. See, I've unlocked everything I can from him, aside from this basic attack, because he doesn't basic attack. 5-star relics are good, but they are not nearly worth the resin or stamina required at the moment that you would have to put in to get a good set. 4 stars can carry you for a while, and I'd say it's perfectly fine to build up a 4-star artifact or 4-star relic if it means the rest of your account is fine. If you are struggling with content, if you cannot get through it, if you don't legitimately know what you want to do, farm out a good set or farm out a 4-star artifact and just build it up. It doesn't matter, because if you can clear it, if the planar sphere or whatever you need is a 5-star and it's pretty bad, but you have a really good 4-star, I think the substats on a 4-star will outweigh it long term, because you don't want to max out a 5-star that just has trashy substats. And the amount of stuff you need to salvage to get even a chance at a good piece, actually hypothetically, I'll take you through this right now. So as you just saw, I salvaged 9 slots of artifacts, 9 slots of relics. And for my Zila, I need, I'm pretty sure, a crit rate body part. But for my Yanqing, I need a new hat. Yeah, I need a new hat, new gloves, new everything. But the boots are good. So let's hypothetically go through this and find him a better hat, a better helmet. Attack percent, effect resistance, and break effect. Not a single line of crit. And I know a lot of individuals may not care about that, but I don't want individuals to think that synthesis immediately makes it better. Because if you want my honest opinion for synthesis as a whole, between this versus what we have in Genshin, I'd say the Strongbox in Genshin Impact is better. And I know you don't want to compare the two, but they're by the same company and they basically are the same thing. Being able to synthesize a specific piece of armor is fine, but having the ability to take 3 armor slots, 3 relics, and get them randomly in one set may be more beneficial to you, because 10 pieces is like 400 stamina versus essentially just taking 3 for 1, which is 120 stamina, which is less than you get in the entirety of the day. I'd say that's a better system overall. So please don't look at 5-star relics as the must-have be-all end-all of your account, because 4-star relics can carry you a lot harder and they may have better subsets, especially when you're going to be getting so many from just farming natural. With that being said, tell me your thoughts down below. Tell me what you like. Hello, Arlen. I really wish you'd actually come to my account. I would build you up better than my Zila. But either way, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.